Hello. Hey, Lucifer.
Hello, good sir. How
Hey.
the devil art thou?
Oh, good. I've got my head Gein t-shirt on today.
Look at that. Very nice.
Got my soft touch laminate head Gein.
Oh, yes.
Collection, look at that. Look how thick it is.
I know, right? 144 badass pages.
Gorgeous black and white.
Oh, yes.
Yes. By some guy called Lucifer Storm.
That's
And another guy
right.
called Christian Rossi. Ooh,
Oh, yes.
artwork's amazing. Yeah.
It'll soon be available from my website, but not just yet.
Nope. The link to the website, by the way, along with the link to mine, is in the description down below. Unless I forgot to put it there. In which case I'll add it later. But it should be down there. It should be in the description down below. Yep.
Excellent.
So my wife just popped in and grabbed something from behind me there. It's I've not had time to read it yet. It arrived yesterday, and as you know, I was holding off after the first issue because I wanted to get either all 4 issues together. But even better, I've got all 4 issues together, and I've got this lovely collection, so I can now sit down and just read the whole thing, and can't wait.
Just get lost in it. It's a fun little tale, even though it's quite dark, and it has its moments where you go, "Ooh, fucking hell, you went there."
As I always say, stay dark.
Oh yes,
but yeah, it's good. It's good to be doing this again. It's been a wee while because we don't do them that often right now.
I know. We need to change that.
We do indeed. Just check. We're out on Twitter. I do this now. I put it out on Twitter instead of Twitch. I don't know if that does any good. I don't know.
That poor one guy on Twitch, though, that used to watch
occasionally too. But yeah, what can you do? And we are on Facebook, which I added at the last minute there, because Facebook just loves when we've got. Actually, that was a bad idea. Talking about video nasties and stuff, wasn't it? It was a bad idea to do Facebook. Anyway, according to the VI above, people are actually watching us with these things right now. But we have one person in the chat at least.
Excellent.
Hey, Pete.
Hey, Pete. How the devil art thou, good sir?
We are indeed a night of pure filth.
Yes.
Yes. And yeah, it's again, as I show. I've got a bunch of things up beside me here for you throwing in the show.
It's not available in hardback. I hope that in the not too distant future it will be, Pete, but at the moment it's just a trade paperback. Lovely soft touch lamination, 144 pages. You could knock out a police officer with this, or a small elephant.
Yeah, it might as well be a hardback as it's a hefty soft cover.
Oh yes.
So in fact I think I build a muscle just by lifting it up there. Right. Anywho, what we're going to do? Oh, I know what we're going to do. We're going to do a show tonight where I'm going to start off with Lucifer here, and we're going to talk about zombie creeping flesh. I should probably get the zombie creeping flesh Wikipedia page up or something just to help me out, because oh dear. Did you watch this recently?
Yes, I rewatched it last night for the first time in God knows how many years. And it was one of those things where before I put it on, I was like, my God, it's been like 10, 20 years since I've seen this movie. Why have I left it so long? And then after about 10 minutes of watching it, I was like, no, I remember why I have left it this long.
Yeah. So we are, okay, let's do it. So hopefully I'll be able to clip this and do an upload later on, and I'll put some whiz bang stuff on it, like stills that move across the screen slowly. I'm nothing if not the low budget Ken Burns of YouTube. Right, okay, so cool. Let's get started then. Yeah. So, I know what I'll do. I'll add this to the stream before we get started. No, boy, that's for later. There you go. And what was you were saying earlier, just before we came on?
we were organized.
Yep.
Being the operative word.
Where,
Something went wrong.
Yeah, it was me. So, I'm I'm going to tell you what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to turn the pages of a YouTube video. No, turn the pages or turn the slides of a PDF PowerPoint thing, which is what we've got up here. Yeah, so there you go. That's what we're doing. The return of the video nasties. Yay!
Yes.
Scary Mary, she would not approve. So this is it. We're talking about zombie creeping flesh. Ooh.
Oh yes. What a great title. Out of all the different titles it's called, I think this is the best one, because this is it goes by the title of Virus, Night of the Zombies. That one is, I think, it's the most confusing title.
I think it's got about a dozen titles.
Like, most of the movie takes place during the day, and yet one of the titles is Night of the Zombies. And I think the more commonly known one for everyone across the pond in the US is Hell of the Living Dead.
Yeah. That's the title card that was on the version I watched the other night, which
same here.
Yeah, which is the 88 films release. And Virus, I've got. That's a nice 88 films cover. I'll pick myself up to show you what that looks like. They've got this reversible sleeve, which gives you this really nice. Makes it look like an awesome movie.
Yes, it does.
It's absolute. There's nothing like that in the movie either. It's like, yeah. Wow. This is a Bruno Mattei movie.
It is indeed.
Pete in the chat saying he watched it last night. It's no Fulci, but at least it's not Franco.
It's close. It's close. Damn close.
It is close. Okay. I'm guessing this is not one that you have as an original VHS from back in the day.
No, I don't, unfortunately. I wish I did. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of this movie, I would love to own a preset of it. I think it would be a wonderful thing to have in my collection. Yep.
And here is, courtesy of videocollector.co.uk, the original VHS cover of it. And the re-release in the old Vipco's Vaults of Horror releases. Remember those? Those were terrible quality.
Yes, they were. They were terrible quality. And the amount of times they said uncut version, and it wasn't.
Yep. Although in this case, I think it was the uncut version they released, but I don't know. At least it wasn't as cut as the original, because the original was already cut.
Yeah.
This is, would this film even, would people talk about it or know about it if it wasn't on a Video Nasties list?
That's a good question. That is a good question. I'm not sure. I'm sure there would be some people out there. People like the Red Letter Media lot would probably talk about it. But apart from that, I think most people wouldn't give this movie the time of day if it wasn't on the Video Nasties list. Yeah,
I think it would be pretty much a forgotten movie.
Yeah.
Hey Pops, or yo,
hey
yo,
how's it swelling?
Yeah, it's okay. I think. Where do we even begin? That is.
I know there's so much to say, but I have no idea where to begin with it all, because it's such a clusterfuck of a movie.
Yeah,
it's like 10 cars all collided.
Yeah, they could use that as a blurb. You know, Lucifer says, in the back of the DVD release, and it would be like, yeah, totally. I've taken this from this is from the Melon Farmers blog.
Oh yeah.
It says a slightly pre-cut version was past X without any cuts from the BBFC for cinema release, but the distributors felt the film was too long and decided that people should stay awake for the whole movie, so they didn't release that version and they cut 14 minutes. It says here especially the interminable SWAT team footage Now, I take umbrage with that because that's my favourite stuff in the movie. That stuff is so
Yes.
bad. I actually think it's
Yes.
hilariously funny.
Yeah.
So it was released without BBC approval for the UK in 1980. It was then released without BBC approval. That's unusual for cinema release. A significantly shortened version and pre-cut cinema version was released in VHS. By the way, the spelling is taken from their website. I would have corrected this, but I didn't want to misquote them. On VHS on the Merlin label in October 1982, it was banned as a video nasty in July 1983 after being successfully prosecuted in Brighton. This is a thing I'm not too sure about because according to the lists that I find, it's not down as one of the ones that's been prosecuted. But according to Mellon Farmers, it was prosecuted.
Wow.
It was dropped from the list in July 1985 because this is the ones that were prosecuted are the ones that are level 3 or level 2, level 1.
I think it was level 2 was prosecuted.
Right. Well, okay, they are right then. Level 2 are the ones that were prosecuted then. So this one was prosecuted. I can't find anything about the prosecution. Obviously, Sam Raimi didn't come over to defend it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
interesting thing here though as well was that James Fairman refused to review a 1993 submission from Video Gems, and this was during the Jamie Bulger moral panic. He advised them that it was not a good time to release a video nasty. So that was a case of the classification board. Not even saying, we're not even going to look at that. It's not getting released right now because there's a moral panic going on.
Yeah. It's everything about this movie is just I think it's one of those movies you watch and you don't realize for a day or two, but it kind of leaves you in shock and not in a good way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, basically the story behind this being made is you had Dawn of the Dead was made with some involvement from Dario Argento, and obviously that did really well. And Claudio Fragasso, the man who most people know as the director of Troll 2.
Yeah, he wrote the screenplay for this.
Well, as I found out, he didn't just write the screenplay. And the director, Bruno Mattei, he looked at it and went, "Oh, we've got to change some of this up." Claudio wanted to do a version of Dawn of the Dead, his own version that was meant to be set in Africa, but he wanted it to be lighter in tone and
yes, I read that.
For a slightly younger audience. But believe it or not all of the movie is directed by Bruno Mattei. Some of it is actually directed by Claudio Fragasso, and he went uncredited. Right.
Well, that'd be interesting to try and work out which bits were directed by him, because which bits are the most incompetent. This is a movie that has one scene of incompetence that leads to another. Interesting. But this is it's a proper video nasty. It was prosecuted, and I tell you what, it was actually nasty. If only they would die. Hell of the Living Dead. Yeah, it's like I brought this up earlier. Pete's right. It's like he's loads of scenes in here that seem as if they've come from better movies.
Yes. I agree with what Pete is saying there. Like, tonally, it shifts all the time. It's never tonally consistent.
Snattle's been on the bird seed again.
Oh dear.
There, Dave.
All right, Dave. How's it swelling?
It's the script. I think I messaged you and said the only thing missing from this that could make it better would be Leslie Nielsen.
Yes.
This was just for the first 20 minutes or so of the movie, because the script, it feels as if somebody's taken the script in its original Italian and then put it through Google Translate.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then put it into Chat GPT to see what it came up with. because it's bonkers. And
It is. It's all over the place. It spends too long on scenes that should be shorter. It spends too little on scenes that should be longer. 1 minute you're like, this is quite fun and light, and the next minute you're like, wow, that got dark a bit quick.
well, seemingly they wanted it to be some kind of a moral kind of like diatribe on, you know, the exploitation of third world countries and that
Yeah.
kind of thing, people in third world countries. But what it was doing was it was actually exploiting these people anyway, because the amount of stock footage and material that they take from documentary footage, which is
Yes.
ghastly and horrible, is very exploitative. There is one scene. Oh, we'll get there in a minute. We'll come back to that in a minute. We'll talk about the SWAT team first. And
yes, because they are the best part of the movie. If you take them out of the movie, you don't have a movie whatsoever.
No. It's like, who's that guy, the terrible actor that made that movie? Was it The Room?
Oh, Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, it's like they've managed to find 4 Tommies.
Yes.
all with different levels of hyperacting or not acting at all, and they've put them together as a SWAT team. And
what's brilliant about that is that, like, you've got these 4 actors that are like 4 Tommy Wiseaus, like giving it their all and failing miraculously, right? But then you've got the people who are dubbing them into English who are no better. They are another level, another league of their own.
The dubbing in this is brilliant. Yeah,
it is brilliant because it is shocking, and it is shocking because it's brilliant.
Yeah.
You know?
I watched a little bit in Italian after I'd watched the dubbed version, because the dubbed version, that is the way to watch the movie.
Yes.
And
it's not often I say that, but yes.
Yeah, definitely is. But a lot of these films, that is the case, because they knew that was the market that they were going to go for, you know. So occasionally they do look as if they're actually talking English. Some form of English. But they do basically just steal scenes from Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, basically. They steal scenes from Dawn of the Dead, remake them, and then go, oh, let's add a couple of other bits in just to liven it up a bit more, make it just a little bit different. But it doesn't help when they've hired Goblin to do the soundtrack. And I only found this out last night. Claudio Fragasso, he was like, okay, I want a complete original soundtrack from Goblin for this movie. And then Goblin went, it will cost you X amount. And he was like, oh, yeah, that's a bit too much. I know how to cut that price in half. We'll just pay them for the rights to use other music they've already recorded. So they stole most of the soundtrack from Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
And from a couple of other movies, just went, yeah, that'll do. And none of it fits. None of it works.
No. And the weird thing is, at the start, it fools you into thinking, Goblin's name come up, and you're hearing this music, and you're going, oh, this is great. Sounds familiar.
Yes.
Of course it sounds familiar, because you've heard it all before. It does add a certain charm to it, though. Aggressive and shouty with each other, even when they've just met. They're brilliantly aggressive and shouty.
They are, and this is why the dubbing is so fantastic, because you can see the actors are so aggressive and shouty, but yet the voice actors who are dubbing them into English are so calm in comparison, and it just the tone of voice does not fit what you are seeing on screen. It is a proper head fuck.
Yeah, this. One of the most effective scenes is when the wee boy turns.
Yes.
And the father falls asleep, the wee boy turns. Good scene.
That kid is the best actor in the whole fucking movie.
Yep. He's doing his Luferagno the other, isn't he? He's totally doing his Luferagno. But the scene before it is like Pete was mentioning, but the father is shouting at the mother. It's like so funny. It's like he just starts it. Turns up to 11, rah, and starts shouting at her. And then she quietly gets out of the car and says, I need to go for a walk. And it's like, wow, what am I watching here? This man's just shouting. But, yeah. When they actually kill the kid, the two of the SWAT team stand about 6 feet away from him and shoot him about 100 times with their guns, and then the other one runs up and pushes him aside and says, "This is how you do it. You shoot them in the head." and then it takes about another 10 minutes before it sinks into them that you shoot them in the head, because they just continually shoot these zombies and they seem unable to make headshots.
But that character is brilliant, because he keeps saying to them, like, I keep telling you, shoot them in, save your bullets and shoot them in the head, and no one's listening to him. And in retaliation, he keeps stealing shots from them. Where he keeps like swiping their gun out of the way and then shooting his and going, see, that's how you do it. And it's great seeing that dynamic between them.
Yeah, it did. First 20 minutes or so, so much fun watching it. It was a terrible movie, but a lot of fun. There they are. I mean, there they are. There's your A team. It was all 4 of them. They take off in that Jeep, and I'm thinking, are they going to take off with those guys just sitting in the back? And they do, and you could tell that guy practically broke his back as the Jeep takes off.
They are like the Poundland or dollar store version of the A team.
Yeah. If even that much.
Yeah, and that's giving them too much credit.
And towards the end, one of them gets a tutu that he doesn't actually put on. He just kind of hangs and he starts singing and dancing, and then he gets eaten by zombies.
Yeah. It's just words cannot describe. Words cannot describe because you can see that everyone involved in this movie is so sincere, and they think this is going to be amazing.
Yeah. I'm going to come back now to the horrible stuff. The horrible stuff is they use lots of actual footage of ceremonies with dead bodies and all kinds of stuff going on. And there's one scene where they have a woman who's breastfeeding her kid or whatever, and she's obviously eating a bit of rice or something, but they cut it in such a way to make it look as if she's lifting maggots out of a decomposed head.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, this is horrible. Not only that, it's a completely exploiting the documentary footage of the woman with a child.
Yeah.
In a movie that's trying to make it look as if they are making some kind of message about the exploitation of the third world. So,
and they're doing a better job at exploiting the third world than anyone.
They are kind of like, yeah. But are they so tone deaf they don't realize that? Or
yeah, it certainly
I'm
seems
guessing that they
way.
are. I think so. In the same way as they think they're actually making a good movie, I think so, because it is Ed Wood level. Most of the movie.
Yes, absolutely. You can tell that the director and the producer, they believed in it so much, and they thought this is gold. This will win Oscars. It's that good. And they are just completely oblivious. They do not realize they are wearing rose-colored glasses throughout the entire production.
Yep. And these two stills kind of prove our point.
Yes.
In order to go into the village with the local indigenous people of the area, fearing that they may, not take kindly to a jeep full of guys coming into the village, our female protagonist decides it's best that she strip naked, paint her body, and go in there for an hour before they go in. And this is it. She strips naked. You don't see her putting all this paint on. I don't know how she does all this, but suddenly she's there, and you can see the jeeps just following her behind, literally, as she runs into the camp, and then all the horrible, which is really weird, because after this, you're like, this is how camper can this film get? How more ridiculous can it get? And then this is where they start showing you all the horrible footage, and she's observing it. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it, because you get a lot of that kind of stuff where they'll show you animal cruelty and whatever in a lot of these Italian zombie movies, but not anything quite like what we see in this one.
if I remember correctly, amongst that documentary footage that they show shortly after this moment in the movie, where, like you said, there's a burial ceremony going on with someone, and you can see the corpse there and everything. I believe, if I remember correctly, they are cutting up an animal at one point, and
it's like an alligator or something, and they're pulling all the sinners out.
Yeah, and it's real up close. Like, they don't shy away from it. They don't do it as part of a wide shot. The documentary film crew, on whatever documentary it was in, they were right in there. They were like, "Oh, all the gore. Let's go for it." And it's really, it's unsettling, and it's so out of place. Like, you've got this brief campy moment, and then you've got this brief moment of reality.
But it happens immediately after this as well, and it's like, and she's watching it. It keeps cutting back to her looking like this, watching these atrocious things happening.
Yeah, and then after it's done, they go back to a campy moment where the SWAT team are with the indigenous tribe, and they're taking drugs and dancing around and like losing their minds and stuff. And I have to say, there's 2 or 3 scenes in this movie where a character has to throw up. And all of the actors have no idea how to act throwing up.
I've never do you know who they remind me of? Do you know who they remind me of? Baby Yoda.
Yes.
That's how they throw up. They throw up in exactly the same way as Baby Yoda throws up.
Yes. Yeah. One of the guys, like, he acts as if like, "Oh, you want me to play this? Like, I've just had my throat slit." So he's like, and he's gargling as if he's fucking had his throat slit, and it's like, I'm not buying it. just not buying it.
It is, it's terrible. It takes a wee while to get back. It's not laugh out loud funny again for a while after that whole sequence, because it's just, I feel slightly traumatized by it. And I was like, what happened to my funny A-team? But it does kind of get back on track a little bit towards the end. And it ends with an amazing scene. I think it's an absolutely amazing scene.
Yes.
Where I've never seen anything like this in a movie before. I don't even know if it's physically possible to do this, but the lead SWAT guy has been turned into a zombie at this point. Pulls out the leading lady's tongue. Actually just rips her tongue out, and then sticks his hand into her mouth, up behind in her head, and then pops her eyes out.
Yeah, it's an incredible moment.
Yeah, and Pete mentioned Diodato down there. I think this scene tops anything anybody's ever done in a movie. I was like, if it hadn't been for that horrible middle section. But yeah, I was so impressed by that. It's not at all believable. It's totally fake. But again, absolutely. It's just the concept. You're like, there's loads of things in this movie where you're just going to go, what? And I quite like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing I like is how all the extras who are playing zombies, like, the director has not sat any of them down and said, "Look, zombies do this, but they don't do this." Because one moment you've got zombies that run, the next moment you've got zombies that are more like the stereotypical George A. Romero, where they're dragging one of their feet behind. But my favorite one is where you got the lead SWAT team guy. They've gone into this building. The SWAT team have come out, and they've left the lead SWAT team guy in there who's playing around with the zombies, and they're all in their Jeep. And there's one zombie near the Jeep who just is constantly going,
yes,
like that. And I fucking love that one. That's my favorite one. They are so out of place.
I started playing Michael Jackson in my head the minute that zombie appeared, and I thought, are they going to do something? Are they going to do that? But they didn't. But that's the whole thing as well, because the zombies they have this whole kind of thing, because I think it's a plot to have the third world population lowered by having them eat each other. So it's something like that, isn't it? Yeah. It's and but half the time the zombies are just your usual kind of like Italians painted slightly green.
Yes.
And then it's weird. This Pete says, of all films to deserve a 4K release, exactly.
Bring bring it on.
Well,
Bring it
I
on.
have. That's why I
I'd
put
get
this
that.
up here, because 88 Films, it's got like a. That's what's his name again? Humphrey, which is, oh God, I'm having a senior moment. The artist did the artwork there.
Oh,
Humphreys, what's his name again? He's very good. He does all the covers.
oh, fuck.
Poster artist. I know. Pete will tell us.
Yeah, Pete, help us out.
Yeah. Jeffrey Humphreys. Oh man, this is what it is. Graham.
There
That's
we
it.
go.
Graham.
There we go.
Jeffrey. I had the G. I was thinking. Yeah. God,
that was a moment. I never want to have one of those again.
No, well, you're not as old as me, though. You shouldn't be having them.
Not yet. Not at least for another week.
I have them all the time. It's shocking. But that's why I put it up there, because that's a fantastic kind of like cover. It's a wee chappy as well at the bottom left-hand corner. They have this stock footage of like African tribe, and they're all like dancing about, and they've got these giant masks. And then they cut to the person that they've got on set. He's got this teeny wee paper mache mask, doesn't look anything like theirs.
Yes. Oh,
and he goes up. And then he goes up and he gives it to her, and then she puts it on, and then she's been accepted by the tribe or something. And you're like, what?
There's a couple of moments like that. Like there's one where you see all the politicians talking, and it's in like a place of Congress, obviously, and it's stock footage, and then all of a sudden it cuts to an actor pretending to address them, but the background is completely different. The film stock is completely different, and you can tell that he's like, I am talking to no one except the cameraman, and I have to not look him in the eyes. It's so jarring and so weird.
Yeah, it's but saying that, it's like as a video nasty, I don't know if it deserved to be a video nasty, because I don't know what the short version had in it. You know?
No. See, I haven't seen the short version. I've only ever seen two different prints. One was the English uncut print with the zombie creeping flesh title. The other one was the print where it says Hell of the Living Dead, but it's still dubbed. I would be interested to see a subtitled version to see how different it is, because I would like to hear, where you've got such bad like voice acting being done by an English cast. I would like to hear the American, the Italian cast, their original voices, see how they how they project their characters and their dialogue and stuff. I think that would be interesting. But
going by the 5 minutes I watched, it's no much better.
Good. If it was amazing all of a sudden, I'd be like, oh, that's disappointing, isn't it?
Have you seen Bruno Mattei's other movies?
I've seen a couple of them, but don't ask me what they are.
Rats, because I'm looking at them right now. Rats. He made Rats.
No, I haven't seen Rats. That's one I've always wanted to see, and I know I've got a copy of it somewhere. I just haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, did he make Rats? I thought he made Rats. Maybe he didn't. According to this, he's made an awful lot of. No, he didn't. I thought he made Rats.
Oh, what? Actually, wasn't that Claudio Fragasso who directed Rats? Night of Terror.
Was it? Right, okay. See, neither of us have seen it. You're right, Claudio. Yeah, it was indeed.
There you go.
Yep.
I remember Bruno Mattei did a movie, I think it was called Shocking Dark, but its alternative title was Terminator 2. And this was before Terminator 2 had even come out.
Yeah, I'd say that, but Claudio Fragasso definitely has a better looking filmography. Titles like Monster Dog, White Apache, Double Target, Strike Commando, Zombie 3, RoboWar, After Death, Beyond Darkness, Night Killer, Troll 2. Yeah. Whereas Bruno Mattei, okay, some stuff here that he's worked on sounds fairly okay, but then you're into Emmanuel's Revenge, SS Girls, Woman Camp 119, Sexy Night Report.
I need all of these immediately. Why are we not doing a show?
Yeah, I know. And these were all before and in the same year that he made Hell of the Living Dead, some of them. Yeah, so I think that kind of explains that scene now.
Brilliant. We have to do a Bruno Mattei episode now.
Right. Well, that was zombie creeping flesh. Any final thoughts before we bury it?
No. I think we've pretty much said everything that can be said about this movie. It is pure schlock, exploitation, craziness. It's a movie that shouldn't work, and it doesn't.
Yeah. But if you like extreme cinema, you have a strong stomach, and you kind of like you like Ed Wood style bad movies,
Then do it.
It's worth a watch.
Absolutely. I don't regret rewatching it. I don't regret having it in my collection. Like I said, if I came across a pre-cert of it, I'd be more than happy to add it to my collection. But it is certainly not a movie that I will want to revisit anytime soon, and not because of its shocking content, just because it is that bad. And I think you had more fun with the bad quality of it than I did, but there is still some fun to be had with it.
I laugh out loud funny for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I wasn't even drunk. Pete's got one of his films, Cruel Jaws, on his watch list, so let us know how that goes.
Yeah.
So what will be next for us then? What were we going to do before we decide? Why the hell did we do zombie creeping flesh?
we had so many chosen to do. We were going to do The Burning at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do Tenebrae because that's one of my favorite. No, we've done Tenebrae. What the fuck am I on about? See, so it's been that long.
That's been my senior moment. Yeah, my first copyright claim was when we did Tenebrae. Then my second one was when I edited it down and put it up again.
Yeah, of course. I would like to do The Burning. That would be great.
Burning.
We haven't done Cannibal Ferox yet, have we?
No, but we've done a fair amount of cannibalism because we did Absurd, which
we did Absurd.
We did Zombie Flesh Eaters.
We haven't done two of the heaviest hitters, which is I Spit on Your Grave and Cannibal Holocaust. But I think maybe we should wait a little bit before we do those.
Yeah, give it another 10 years at the rate we're going at. Well, do you want to do The Burning then?
Let's do The Burning, because it's been a little while since I've watched that.
And it's a half-decent movie as well. Yeah,
exactly. So if we do a half-decent movie, then we can do a couple of the not-so-great ones.
We can do a piece of trash after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It's a palate cleanser.
Yeah, but as Pete's saying, he's glad we chose it. He probably never rewatched it otherwise. Cheers. Yeah, it's good because it did add to your, what do you call it? Your knowledge, your exploitation knowledge, your exploitation breadth and width inside your, inside your head. Says the man who's forgetting everything he ever learned. But yeah,
cool. I was doing all right until I got on this stream of you. It's contagious.
Oh, it's shocking, isn't it? It's shocking. It is contagious. But cool. So that was it then. Zombie creeping flesh, or virus, or whatever other name you want to call it.
Night of the Zombies, or Hell of the Living Dead. Or just, I swear, you could probably make up your own title for it, and there is probably a print with that title already on.
I think there probably is. A lot of the covers as well don't have anything to do with the movie. Right, so that was Zombie Creeping Flesh. Hang on a second. Right, hang on a second. Here we go. Right. I'll bring this back in again. So I'm going to cut that down. I'm going to take out the bits where we're having senior moments and make it look comedic.
make it look like we've never had a senior moment in our life.
And I've just realised I forgot to click on the wee thing that does separate.
Oh no!
Separate audio streams. That would have made my life a lot easier. You do this thing there in StreamYards where there's separate audio streams.
Yeah. I've been playing.
It just feels like getting very dark in here.
Well, what, tonally?
Can't see a thing. Okay, so give me 1 second. Right. I'm going to move on now.
Oh,
That was like the starter, the main course. So
yeah, that was the warm up.
yeah. So it is indeed. It's perfectly safe if Startle wants to join us at any point. Yeah, it's definitely. Well, you say safe, but we are still talking about cannibalism.
Yeah.
We're going to be Tales That Witness Madness. Now, surprisingly, this is a fairly new film to you.
Yes, that's right. Last year, leading up to Christmas, literally the week leading up to Christmas, I got COVID. And after I recovered, I went out and celebrated. And after I recovered from the celebration, it was pretty much New Year. And I'm a sad sack in the fact that I love spending New Year at home, get some takeaway, watch a couple of movies that I've not seen before, but I've wanted to. And this is a movie that the whole of last year, it kept coming up on the horror channel. But they would play it at like 1 a.m. And I go to bed stupidly early because even though I'm not that old, apparently I act like I am. So I'm like halfway through my sleep cycle at that point. I thought, fuck's sake, can't you put it on earlier? I'd really like to watch this. And it came to New Year's Eve and I was like, oh, screw it. They've got it on like the streaming version of the horror channel or legend or whatever they call it. So I thought I would watch that. And I watched that back to back with Witchfinder General on New Year's Eve. And I just had an absolute scream with this movie. It was amazing. Loved it.
Cool. That's great. It's like me when I found zombie creeping flesh. No, not quite. I'm just checking here. We do have one person watching us on Twitter. It's Nick.
Oh, you're right, Nick.
Amazing. Gothic Nick. Cool. Yeah, so I saw this when it must have been the first TV showing.
Okay.
So it was made in 73. That would have been late 70s or 1980 around about then or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was kind of drawn to it because it was late night horror and also because it's Freddie Francis and terrific cast as well, as you can see here. And I remember the first story being really scary. And the other stories being not as scary, but you had this kind of sense something's going to happen because the first story was really scary. I think that's still the same, although as an adult, it's not as scary as it was when I first saw it. But okay, so Tales of Witness Madness, 1973. It's got a cast. It looks like an Amicus movie, but it's not an Amicus movie. But it has a lot of the hallmarks of an Amicus movie as well. It's got the let's bring this up here. It's Freddie Francis who made Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, Torture Garden, Tales from the Crypt. So those three alone, these portmanteau anthology films, he's made those.
Yeah.
He made Dracula's Risen from the Grave, which is one of the best Dracula films, and lots of other good horror movies. So I'll just get out of the way. But this is slightly different. It doesn't seem like it was made just as a horror movie.
It's
got more of a kind of Ray Bradbury quality to some of the stories than a lot of the British kind of like anthology films had.
I think
almost sci-fi.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it's like the second story. It had a bit of a Twilight Zone feel to it. It felt like it was heavily inspired by science fiction anthology shows of sort of like the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. So this is the second story, which is a time travel story. The third story as well, I think, is science fiction too. We'll get to that. But let's go through the stories. So let's go back. So we have, as a linking device, you have Donald Pleasance, who's at this asylum or whatever it is, this hospital, and you've got everybody in the rooms, and we're going to get their stories. So it's kind of like Asylum in that respect. And you've got Jack Hawkins, who comes to see how he's getting on with his theories and all this kind of stuff. What's his new breakthrough that Donald Pleasance has made.
Yeah.
And so essentially, Pleasance takes him around, shows him all these characters and tells them their stories. And I remember when I first saw it, I didn't quite understand what that was all about. And it is quite an abstract film and a bit kind of existential about what exactly is going on.
Yeah.
But one interesting thing here is that Jack Hawkins was dubbed by Charles Gray. So he sounds like Blofeld in Diamonds Are Forever. Because by then his voice had completely gone. A Halloween vibe, and Hawkins was driving us for grounds at the start. Yes, it did kind of get a Halloween vibe. Yeah, I know what you mean. But so they go on, and the first story is the one that's kind of full on like a. This is the kind of story you would have got in an Amicus film as a kind of full on horror story.
Yeah,
and it's the wee boy with his imaginary friend who's Mr. Tiger. You see a lovely drawing of Mr. Tiger killing his mother there. I saw this. I was much younger when I saw this. It was on the telly, and I remember thinking it was all quite effective. How did this hit you with this story when you first watched it?
It was predictable, but not in a bad sense. It gave you what you wanted. It set the tone perfectly for the rest of the movie. I didn't find it took me aback or anything. It gave me it felt like I was watching the first Creepshow movie. It had that sense of fun to it, even though it's quite a serious story, and you know that at some point you're like, oh, this tiger is going to show itself. I wonder how they're going to play that off. And it was it was very impressive in its own right. It was very effective, but it
quite
didn't
gory
and I like the fact that with each story, when you meet the character that's in the story you're about to see, they are saying a line of dialogue that they say in their story. So when we first meet the kid, he's going, oh, is it dinner time? Because he likes bones, lots of bones. And the way he says the word bones, there is that once again, this child actor is really good and really sells the whole thing and does so well. I thought it was really nice and refreshing to see that the parents away from the child and how they were with each other, and then how they were when they realized the kid's been stealing meat from the kitchen, how their dynamic changed, but it was a very subtle change. They were still pretending to be this couple who were deeply in love when in fact they actually hated each other. There was something about it. If this story had fallen flat, I think I would have been like, nope, I'm just opting out of the film. I'm getting the hell out of here whilst I can. At least I watched one story from it. But this story does a great job at selling you to sit down and watch the rest of it. It's like, hey, this is just the beginning, and it's going to get even better from here.
Yeah, and there's some nice camera stuff he does in this as well. It's quite a kind of John Carpenter-esque to bring us back to Halloween. Kind of feel about some of the scenes, some of the shots that he does. I was reading an interview with Freddie Francis where he was saying that when the producers saw the film first, they went, well, this isn't a horror film. And he said, no, it's not. And he says, well, I wanted a horror film. And he said to the producer, didn't you read the script? And the producer said, I never read the scripts. And so they've shot some stuff to put in it to make it more horrific. And I think that in the interview, Francis says, but he still thought it was a good film, So I kind of wonder some of the shots with the tigers or with the pulling away at the flesh and all this kind of stuff. Might have been stuff that was added to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it does kind of would work quite as well if they take all that kind of stuff out and just make it a kind of like a psychological thing. I think it would work just as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It pulls you in very easily. It pulls you in. You don't put up a fight whatsoever. I love those old safety films. They're amazing. Yeah. Apaches, what a great fucking little film.
Scary as
hell. Oh yeah.
So this was the first one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the trailer. I'm going to play the trailer.
Excellent.
Spoilers for everybody watching. This trailer spoils a lot. This is the original trailer for Tales of Witness Madness, just to give everybody a little look.
Come face to face
Uncle Albert.
with your fears.
That's a major spoiler.
Yep.
With tales that witness madness.
Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. I love that one.
You've tried everything you know how to keep them to yourself, but you still haven't made it, have you? You're threatened by a tiger.
Come face to
he has a
face
bit window, mind you, in that part.
Wildest nightmares. Enter an asylum from which you may never escape. Leave all your sanity behind. It can't help you now.
Mamalu.
Albert!
Quick, somebody get the fire brigade. We'll destroy it. And you. Now do you believe it? Thank God you've seen it. It has to be seen to be believed.
Tales that witness madness. It's enough to drive you out of your mind into your grave.
You got this whole movie in 30 seconds.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, that is the worst cut of the movie. Gives away so much.
It gives away everything, and it also makes it seem a lot trashier than it actually is, because it's not trashy at all.
It makes it seem really camp.
Yeah.
And camp is not a word I would use to describe this movie.
Yeah. Pete's saying that it's like the UK Blu-ray doesn't have any extras, not even the trailer. That's a shame. It looks great though. Yeah, I've got that as well. It's a pretty good print they've got. It looks great. But it would have been nice to have a cleaned up trailer or something in there. Well, that is the story of Uncle Albert, which I think is one of the most inventive stories in the whole thing. And it's a time travel story, and it's they inherit this penny farthing in the old picture Uncle Albert. And it's great because Uncle Albert's picture changes, his expression changes depending on what he's reacting to any one moment, and he uses his telekinetic powers or whatever to pull the guy onto the penny farthing, and then he cycles backwards in time. It sounds nuts because it is nuts.
Yeah,
but it's usually enjoyable.
It's creative, inventive, nuts, and it's all. I think the only thing that lets this down for me, and it is like a nitpicky thing, and it's because I was brought up watching Only Fools and Horses with my dad when I was a kid. So every time I'm hearing one of the characters going, "It's Uncle Albert, it's Uncle Albert," I'm like, "That's not Buster Merryfield."
Oh, it's Uncle Albert, not Uncle Arthur. I've been saying Uncle Arthur.
But it is still a fantastic story. Unlike the first story, like I said, the first story was predictable, but in a good way. In other words, it delivered what you wanted it to do.
Yeah.
This one, not predictable whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it was great. You were just like, okay, I want to see where this one goes.
Yeah. No, and also it doesn't. It does have that science fiction element, which I think is there in everything apart from the first one. And unless the first one is about a young boy who's able to manifest things with his mind.
Like, there's so
like
many ways
Twilight
you can
Zone
read.
episode. Yeah,
there's so many ways you can read these stories, but they
Yeah.
do come across as more science fiction than horror. But it's kind of sci-fi with like a sprinkling of horror, like the seasoning of horror, shall we say?
Yeah. And it's not always that you get to see a penny farthing being used as a plot device in a movie. So
exactly.
I mean, yeah. Right. I'm just closing stuff down there. I had Twitter and everything open. Nick's watching us in the car, so I hope he's not driving. Right. The story that stuck with me the longest.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I don't know, is what's the word I'm looking for? Is equally bonkers. Probably the most bonkers story in any of these anthology movies from then. Right, explain it. What's happening here then, Lucifer?
Right. Well, what happens is you've got a couple who live together who get along absolutely fantastically. I'm sure they have jobs, but you never see them work whatsoever. So
no, they drink a lot. They just drink a lot and like
they act like they're unemployed. so they very may well be. But the guy is going for a jog one day and he stops because there's this part of a tree that has been sawn off or it's been struck by lightning or something. And there's something about it that he finds very attractive. He sees something that no one else can see in it and is like, I need to take this home. So he does. And his wife, played by Joan Collins, is like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, it's wonderful. Look at it. It's beautiful. So he brings it in, saying that he's going to do something with it. But he even claims, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to do something. And he brings it into their home and she's very against it. And there's this subtle but not subtle female form to this tree that keeps being revealed along the story. And the wife starts seeing it as a threat, and it's this very strange love triangle between a couple and a piece of a tree.
Yep. And I'll just show the next slide. Just another one that's
please do
cause me trouble in the old Facebook. There you go.
I'm just going to put it out there. I'm just going to say it. This story is not only crazy and weird, it's fucking awesome. It's really fucking awesome.
It's well written, acted, and it's but it's completely bonkers.
I don't know about you, and I don't know why I felt this, but there was something about when I rewatched it earlier today that when it came to this story, I was like, I'm getting like a tiny hint of an Exorcist vibe or an Exorcist 2 vibe from this story, and I'm not sure why. It's probably just me. I'm probably just going crazy.
You might. That could just be the effects of zombie creeping flesh.
Well, yeah, it could be that as well.
Yeah,
it could be that as well. But there is something unsettling.
I suppose there's something
it.
about the mundane quality of everyday life being, been disrupted. But yeah, so what is the tree? Is the tree an alien?
Or is it some sort of succubus? That's what I thought. That's the conclusion that I came to.
A succubus from another planet.
That is trapped inside of a tree and wants out.
Once out. Once it, yeah. It's Joan Collins is great in it. She's great in all these kind of movies, but
Yeah.
it's there's 1 minute where they're having an argument, and they're drinking and they're just pouring like loads of booze and just drinking it and having an argument.
Yeah.
And that is all they do. All they do is essentially drink, like you were saying. Because he said, I'm off the pub. Do you want to come up the pub? She's like, no. He says, well, we'll just have a lazy afternoon after I come back. And she's like, yeah, let's do that. And you're like, that's all they do.
Yeah.
As we go. Oh, yeah, the Guardian and the Evil Dead.
Well, yeah.
Could have done. It is, even to this day, every time I watch Tales of Winter's Madness, and I watched it a couple of years ago, it's one that I liked because it's not particularly well thought of or well respected, this movie, I don't think.
No, but I don't understand why.
I can't understand why either, because it does all the things that they want from a horror movie if they want it to be more than a horror movie, is what, sort of thing. It's challenging, and it's artfully done as well,
It's unique.
And it's also kind of funny, witty, because it is witty, it is funny. I mean, that fight, the shot of the tree in the bed is quite, when you see it, it's quite funny. You know what's coming, you guess it. But when you get in there, you're kind of like, okay, this is what they're doing with us. Because you think that your man here is taking the tree out and burying it out in the garden, sort of thing. But he's not.
Yeah,
he's keeping the tree and he's burying poor old Joan in the garden. She never comes off well in these movies, does she?
Well, that's what she gets for marrying the Valeyard.
Hey, exactly. Hey, that was it. I was going to come back to that later. There's a Doctor Who. There's always there's more than one in this. So there is. We'll wait to that. We'll get to that in a minute. Because it was one of my students actually that he's watching a lot of old horror movies, and he was pointing out. He asked me if it was a thing that they would get a Doctor Who to appear in these movies because it would get people in. Because you had John Pertwee, and was what one was John Pertwee? The House of Drip Blood, and then you had Tom Baker in Vault of Horror.
Yep.
And then you had Patrick Troughton in Scars of Dracula. He was just noticing all these Doctor Who's appearing amongst them. And so when I was watching this, I kind of thought, hang on a minute. Doctor Who connection, and not the only one. So you might have something in that. Maybe there's some. It's probably just everybody was in Doctor Who back in the day.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah. It's a good film. It's a good film. It's worth having a good Blu-ray copy, even if they were dead stingy. Didn't put any extras on it.
This is in a very short amount of time. This has become one of my favorite anthology horror movies. Yeah,
I think it's one of Freddie Francis's best movies as well. I think he tries lots of interesting things in it. And each story has a unique look to it too.
Yes.
He does different things when he's directing them. He makes them interesting. Now, the final story is my least favourite story, I think.
Same.
But it has moments that are kind of like, oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hang on a minute. Thanks for joining us there, World Comics Review.
Hey.
Cheesy movie called Three Kinds of Heat. There's a Doctor Who is a baddie. Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, no, that sucks. That sucks.
Oh, no. So
bring back VHS.
Yeah, I know. That's the future. After vinyl, VHS.
Yep, absolutely.
Anyway, the fourth story, it's got the big name. It's got Kim Novak in it, who came in at the last minute, or near enough the last minute. It was meant to be Rita Hayworth.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. At least I either made that up or read it somewhere. Yeah, she's not very good in this, is she, Kim Novak?
No,
She's,
I don't think so.
No, she's not very good. She kind of lets this story down a little bit. It's a shame. I guess, without that kind of Hitchcock grip.
Yeah.
Or maybe she just didn't quite realise what was happening. But
that is also a possibility. I'm sure that a couple of them were probably like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm getting paid.
So what is going on is Mary Tam is there as well. So Romana.
Yeah.
So 2 Doctor Who connections. There must be more than 2. I think if we look at this, we'll find a lot more.
Oh, more than likely.
I think there are quite a few of them. The wee guy that was chopping up the meat, I'm pretty sure he was in Doctor Who at some point. But you get the rabbi in and ask him. I'm pretty sure they used a body double though. Apart from, well, there's one shot where they couldn't have. Oh, yeah.
Oh, we'll have to do some research.
Yeah. 1973, what can I say? Yep. Yeah. Anywho, the story of this Lucifer, would you like to explain what's going on in these 4 fabulous stills that I have up here?
Cannibalism.
Yeah. So essentially, Kim Novak has to eat the steak that's been cooked from Mary Tam, really, who is her daughter. And that's the story, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. That is pretty much
that is it.
She gets to taste a bit of long pig.
Yep, pretty much. And it's probably considered quite an offensive story if people were to see it today. But it has a couple of moments in it that I think are pretty good kind of horror-y moments. The scene where she actually gets killed is quite an interesting scene.
Yeah,
and it's own. Where the young chap, as you see up in the top right there, he kind of like stabs on the lower back, and she drops into the shower. So this is like a completely different kind of shower scene, and and then the guy's picture, I don't know if I should put him up. The wee kind of like returned guy comes in and with a suitcase and all these different knives, and he chops her all up and he wraps her all up and puts her in the suitcase and carries her out. And it's you don't see that I'm actually chopping her up, such, but he strips off to do this because he knows he's going to go sweaty and bloody and stuff. And it's kind of it's clever. Everything's thought out, and the whole ceremony is all thought out, and everything's done in a really methodical and interesting way in this particular segment. But at the end of the day, it is really just that is it. That is it. And it's kind of let down because Kim Novak is kind of like a plank of wood all the way through it.
Yeah, kind of phoning it in a little bit. Although when it comes to that shot where he's encouraging her, like, eat this, like,
she's like,
excellent moment.
That's pretty good because she's so into it. But that could just be it called for overacting, and she was good at the overacting, you know. So Mary Tam was good in it. I don't know what else.
She was.
Ellie Rose, unfortunately not given too much to do. Yeah, this is more of like a easy kind of like,
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's got that kind of shock kind of feel to it at the end.
And like you said, I wouldn't say it was the best story out of the lot. I think it's the one that I like the least.
Yeah, me too. they put it at the end. Probably it's because it's the most shocking. It's also the most like a horror story out of them all. This is the one that is a horror story. You can't start reading other things into it. At least I thought that. It's at least deep.
It's fairly short and simple as well.
Yeah.
So, like, by that point, like, the audience might be going, oh, God, another story? So that kind of thing. So they're like, come on, let's wrap it up, because you've also got that story that's like a framing device that's connecting everything together with Mr. Pleasance there doing a wonderful job, as always.
Yep. No overacting from him. He's just perfect.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, Jack Hawkins sounding an awful lot like Blofeld in Diamonds Are Forever. And as you can see, his fate at the very end of the movie is shown in the trailer.
Yeah.
This is what's interesting, because Donald Pleasance is telling him about all these things that happened to him, and they're all there, and he's going to show how it's all kind of real. And Jack Hawkins, every time he turns around, there's nobody in that room behind him. It's like, what are you talking about, man? You're mad.
Yeah.
You know, that's that kind of like, and then the guys in the white coats come and they drag off poor old Donald Pleasance. But then Jack Hawkins, he goes into the room and the wee boy comes in, and Mr. Tiger's there, and Mr. Tiger kills him. End of movie. There you go.
But
It's more exciting than that.
Even this framing device has a sci-fi feel to it.
Yeah, totally. It feels more like a sci-fi movie. You come away, the fact it doesn't tell you exactly, because you can like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
What actually happened? What's real? What's not real? It's like, yeah, you can start thinking about these things more so than you do from a straight out kind of horror anthology. But yeah, poor old Jack Hawkins gets killed by Mr. Tiger. Yeah, interesting. Trust me, it's a lot. It's a lot better than I made it sound. Near that end, the end is a lot better than I made it sound. We should have a spoiler thing come up, shouldn't we?
It was a great way to wrap up the movie, to have it end the way that it did. Even though they spoiled it in the trailer, but then again, back then they were spoiling most movies in the trailer. I mean, come on, Soylent Green.
Yeah,
5 seconds into the trailer, you're like, I know everything about the movie.
I did not know that. There you go. Jay Fairbank was a pseudonym for British actress Jennifer Jane.
Oh,
it's 1p. Yeah. Such an educational show we put on.
It is indeed.
Thanks to the chat. So Tales of Witness Madness then. So that's kind of like, I think it should be, if it was an Amicus film or a Hammer film, it would be talked about a lot more, written about a lot more.
Oh God, yes, absolutely.
And looking for reviews of it, there were so many that were just kind of so. One or two I could find more recent reviews from people who really liked it.
Yeah.
But older ones generally didn't think much of it at all, which is a shame.
That is a shame, because unlike Zombie Creeping Flesh, a lot of thought went into it, and it pays off.
Yeah,
it works.
Definitely. Just like hello. Bride of the Monster.
Oh, hello.
So, Tales of Witness Madness. It'd be great if we could do a watch along and something like that, but because of copyright, we can't. But we can do one for Bride of the Monster.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, which we are going to do in 2 weeks' time. Now, I've uploaded Bride of the Monster. If you check my channel, I see just at the beginning and not now, because most people don't stick with us for an hour and 15 minutes. So subscribe and like, please hit the like button, blah, blah, blah. Now, I've got this up. I've started putting up these public domain movies so that when we watch them, they're easy to find because they're on my channel. Just click them and we watch them. I've got a copyright claim with some company called Watchfort.tv, a Canadian company that putting out copyright claims on lots of public domain stuff, and I tried to appeal it, and I've not been successful. And it's like if I keep trying to appeal it, you could end up with a strike. So I had a wee rant on Twitter to YouTube on Twitter. But so I'm going to see if my channel just disappears, it's because I've decided to fight this. But if not, I'm just not going to bother right now. But it's really annoying because it is public domain, and every single film that I put up that's public domain has got somebody trying to blooming put a claim against it. It's really annoying.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that YouTube are allowing them to do such a thing on public domain material. YouTube, what the fuck are you playing at? Seriously.
Yeah, shame. Anyway, I just thought I'd be right there. But we are going to watch that, and it's kind of like the first 20 minutes of Zombie Creeping Flesh. It's a good time.
I can't wait. This is one of my favorite Edward movies.
Yeah, it's his most. I guess he's definitely his best. Yeah, definitely sweet.
Yeah.
But so we'll be back in 2 weeks' time to do this. Not that we're going anywhere right now, but we will be going to somewhere soon, quite soon. But back in 2 weeks' time, Stato will be joining us. I will watch Bride of the Monster. I've actually uploaded it twice. The second time I uploaded it, I put some adverts at the beginning of it.
Right.
They claimed that they own them as well.
Oh.
I was testing them, so I was unlisted. So it is, watch for TV. Well, that's the one we'll be watching because it will give us some old style cinema vibe.
Oh, nice.
Then every two.
Good man.
Steady, Pete. And then we've got because it's every fortnight, as you know. And then 2 weeks later, we're finally getting around to it. We're not doing what we were talking about before. We're doing something different, but we're going to have the Terrible Trio. We're going to be here making their, well, not the first, because we've done a show already with the three of us, but it's going to be the first official Terrible Trio show. It was an idea of Nick's to do the Warrens, to do the Conjuring. So I thought, well, let's exercise the Warren files.
Oh, this one's going to be an interesting one. I mean, it's going to be a real interesting one.
Yeah, let's. I'll because was it? There's a couple of books on them that I've read, and I know you have too because you mentioned one of them.
The Demonologist was one of them.
Yeah, you can read that on the internet library. By the way, you can. If anybody wants to read it, you can get a copy of that one there to read online. It's because I was having to flick through it again the other night when I realised we were going to do this. I have a love-hate relationship with them, and so I could just do a show just talking about that. So it's going to be fun. I love to hate them.
Oh, does this mean I'm going to have to play devil's advocate?
No, can we just not all hate them? Maybe not. But yeah, but that's in the future. Kind of like
yes,
if we were to jump on our penny farthings, and instead of instead of going forward, we go backward in the wheels, and it takes us into the future because it kind of works that way, works against the laws of physics.
I really want a penny farthing.
So, not nearly as good as that cover.
Yep.
Could have at least given us a trailer. But, £7 on Amazon, thereabouts. Not bad at all.
Not bad.
Oh, it's a heavy one.
It is as good as the cover suggests, this
Look
one.
at that. Arrived yesterday. It's as good as the cover suggests. And, yeah. There's a link down below if anybody's new here and hasn't clicked on it before. Go down there and click on it. And I think that's us. Yeah, Yeah. That's unlike most
Oh.
shows where I come in knowing a little bit. Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Oh,
Crash.
brilliant.
Yeah. What were they thinking about this? Like, nobody just going to look at it and go, what if you make them both the same size? I don't know. It's not that we looked at horses and went, 2 legs are giant and 2 legs are short. What's going on? This is something that, because I've read loads of stuff about them, and it's a good chance that it's going to kind of dive off to other things as well. There's so many films that that have been made based on true stories that I would like a lot more if they weren't, so we'll be touching on that, I think.
Excellent. It's going to be a good old time.
Right, so that I'm stretching it. I've been doing a lot of drawing the last few days, and my shoulders are seizing up on me.
They can't fully seize up until you finish that book, man.
I know. Things before we go in, see if there's anything interesting happening. How do we go to that Chat GPT thing?
Oh yes, I've toyed around with it because I've had a few theories and stuff, and I've been thinking about making a video for my channel about whether comic book writers should be scared of Chat GPT. Spoiler: no, you really shouldn't.
Yeah, no. I thought, well, okay, I'll put some of my own stuff in here and see what it does with it, and it was both impressive and hilarious.
Yes,
at the same time.
Yeah.
So so we have nothing to fear yet.
No, I mean, I think if used properly, if coming at it from the right look, there are loads of people out there who are making videos going, oh, you can write a book with this. It's easy and it's amazing. No, you can't. I actually picked up a magazine called Writers Forum, which I try to pick up every month. And someone had written in saying, oh, I'd heard about ChatGPT and I was really scared. So I thought, well, face the monster. And they gave it a go. And they said, yeah, I asked it to write me a story. It started it with, it was a dark and stormy night.
That did the same for me.
Right? I went to it and I said, okay, write me a blog post about a certain true crime event, and it flat out refused and said no, because that's glorifying violence. And I was like, how is it glorifying violence? Right?
Yeah.
I'm just asking you to tell me the facts about something. And then I thought, all right, I'm gonna test it out from a lyrical perspective. And I was like, write me a song about Ted Bundy, and it completely refused. It was like, no, I can't do that. As an AI language model, that's not ethical. That's glorifying horrible true crime. And I said, okay, tell me what you know about Ted Bundy. And it did. And I said, now put that information into song lyrics. And it did. And I was like, you're a fucking hypocrite. But no, look, if people think it's going to take over writers' jobs for things like blog posts and stories and comics and stuff, no, it's not. It hasn't got a fucking chance, because it's not human. It doesn't have the human element that makes stories a story. It never fucking will.
It could probably would get away with modern day Marvel comics. I think it would write them quite easily.
Oh, it would do a fucking great job with modern Marvel stuff.
So. Yeah,
but so would a dead rat, to be honest with you. But I think if people came to it and went, I need an editor or someone to go over it to make sure that the spelling and grammar's all right, then it's a good tool for that. But to actually create shit for you, yeah, no, it's not worth it. Not worth wasting your fucking time.
No, and that kind of like says it all here. Just brought it up here. We have the punchline. Right. Well, I think that's a good note to end on, to be honest with you.
It is.
But yeah,
it is.
That's all I've done is different. I've just been drawing and eating Chinese food. I'm going to be reading Ed Gein. So next time we speak, I'll be able to tell you
Yes.
all about it.
Oh, wunderbar.
Yeah. So thanks for watching. If you did indeed watch. Thanks for everybody in the chat. Pete, back for being here for the full 1 hour and 25 minutes and 53
Legend.
seconds and counting. Indeed.
Legend.
Indeed. Total legend. And World Comics, if you're good at it, you can join us because you don't always make the live ones, so it's great. Going back, Stato, he's been here. Bristolian Dave, Pops has been here. Yep, cool. Thanks, guys. And that's us then. So 2 weeks' time, get your Edward on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so cheers, Lucifer.
Anytime.
That's been a horror show, so I will play us out, and then that's us. So stay dark, as you say.
Take care, guys.